where every step of the idols is always a conversation and every smile can trigger thousands of speculations. There is a human side that often goes unnoticed. Recently, BTS's Jimin again reminded the world that behind the stage lights, there is a sincere and tender heart that is rarely realized by the public, the heart of Jungkook, the golden magne, who has been known to be perfect in the eyes of many people. However, who would have thought, behind his fame and all his achievements, Jungkook kept a sincerity that even the closest people did not know about. In an emotional interview that left ARMY around the world speechless, Jimin recounted how Jungkook always showed love and care without having to flaunt it. He is not the type to talk a lot or like to explain his feelings, but his every little action always has a deep meaning. Jungkook may look strong, confident, and always ready on stage, but underneath that he is very gentle, Jimin said with teary eyes. There are many things he does secretly for all of us. Sometimes the little things mean the most. The story began when Jimin recalled the difficult moments at the beginning of BTS's career. At that time, they were still struggling, living modestly in cramped dormitories, eating potluck, and training nonstop. Jungkook, who was a teenager at the time, often secretly prepared drinking water for his hyung after training, or made sure the room lights were turned off when everyone was asleep so that electricity was not wasted. Small things, but full of meaning. He never said anything, but I knew he was watching us one by one. Jimin recalls one of the most heartwarming stories came while BTS was on their first world tour. Behind the glitter of concerts and the cheers of the audience, there are lonely nights in hotel rooms where fatigue and mental stress often come suddenly. Jimin admitted that he was at a point where he felt very tired, both physically and mentally. But without realizing it, Jungkook knocked on her door with a glass of water and just said, "Hyung, have you eaten?" Without further ado, without long words, but the attention broke through the wall of silence that Jimin felt at that moment. Jimin added, "That's Jungkook. He won't ask if you're sad or why you're crying, but he will sit next to you, not talk, just accompany." It's his way of showing love. ARMY, who heard this story, immediately flooded social media with the hashtags #JungkookKindness and #JiminForJungkook, making both of them trending in various countries. Many fans admitted that they were touched to see how deep the relationship between BTS members who are not only colleagues, but already like a real family. What makes this story even more touching is the fact that Jungkook himself never talks about such things in public. He rarely highlights his emotional side, because he feels no need to get recognition for something he considers natural. But behind his calm demeanor, there is a sensitive and empathetic heart, especially towards those he loves. Jimin even mentions that Jungkook is the type of person who will remember all the little things about others, but never remember his own good that on another occasion. Jimin also touched on how Jungkook is often the first to reach out when someone is in need, but always make sure his actions are not exposed to the camera. When one of their staff falls ill in the middle of a busy schedule, Jungkook is the one who delivers the medicine without anyone knowing. Even when a crew member was exhausted on the way, Jungkook quietly gave up his seat in the van and chose to stand. All done without expecting praise, without wanting to be seen. He never talked about it, but I know because I was there, Jimin said with a smile full of memories. For the ARMY, this story is like opening a new page about Jungkook's figure that they have always admired. Many wrote that they had always seen Jungkook as the perfect global star, but after hearing Jimin's story, they realized that behind that perfection was an incredibly warm and sincere human figure. Some fans even wrote on social media, "Maybe the world loves Jungkook for his voice, but I love him for his heart." The story also becomes a deep reflection of how fame sometimes overshadows the most beautiful side of a person. In the fast-paced and competitive world of entertainment, Jungkook proves that sincerity still has a place. It is not necessary to announce its merits. It is enough to do it. And that's what makes it so different. Jimin confirmed, Jungkook is not trying to be a good person. He was good, even when no one was looking. Interestingly, some old fans remember that since his debut, Jungkook has often shown affection through small acts. From bringing food to other members, holding V who fell asleep on the sofa, to hugging Jimin secretly before performing on the big stage. It all looks simple, but for those who understand the harsh and exhausting world of idols, such an act can mean everything. Now, when Jimin revealed that publicly, many people felt as if they had just gotten to know Jungkook from a whole new side. He is not only an artist with a golden voice and a beautiful face, but also a man whose heart is pure. A best friend who doesn't need words to make people feel loved. Closing his interview, Jimin said in a soft tone, "I'm grateful to grow up with someone like Jungkook. I learned from him that kindness doesn't have to look big to be meaningful. Sometimes, just by being present and silent by someone's side, you've saved their heart." That sentence instantly became a viral quote, spread by thousands of armies around the world as a reminder that true love doesn't need a spotlight to shine. That Jimin's story about Jungkook seems to be a window that reveals the hidden side of a superstar who always looks perfect in front of the camera. Behind the cheering crowd, behind the magnificent stage, Jungkook remains a loving young man who never stops caring for others even when he is tired. He may not always say, "I care," but his every move speaks louder than words. And perhaps therein lies true sincerity. When one gives without wanting to be known, loves without wanting to be seen, and is present without having to be asked, that army is now even more convinced. Behind every success of BTS, there is an irreplaceable bond of brotherhood. And within that bond, Jungkook's sincerity is a light that never goes out. Because as Jimin said, when you get to know Jungkook not as an idol, but as a human being, you will realize how precious his heart is. A confession that touched the world, while reminding us all that behind all the glitters of fame, there is always a sincerity that is never exposed, and Jungkook is proof of that. After Jimin's confession shook the hearts of many people, the atmosphere of BTS's fandom turned into an unstoppable sea of emotions. ARMY flooded social media with expressions of love and appreciation for Jungkook. They feel like they just got to know the idol figure they have supported for years, not because of his achievements on stage or his always stunning appearance, but because of the warmth of his soul that is so human. Jungkook's sincerity, as told by Jimin, seemed to open the door to the deepest side of an artist who had been considered untouchable by the outside world. For many, Jimin's story is not just a friend's story about a friend. It is a mirror of real human relationships, where love and care don't always have to be expressed in words. Jungkook, who since his teens has lived amid the pressures of the entertainment industry, grows into someone who knows how to love selflessly. He learned that mindfulness can be realized through simple actions: listening, staring without judgment, or simply sitting quietly with someone when they're not doing well. Some HYBE staff even joined in after Jimin's interview went viral. A longtime staffer confessed that Jungkook often arrived early before the scheduled start of training just to make sure all the equipment was working properly. He never called it his responsibility.